Hi everyone, this is the second video from IM2 week 3 lesson recording. So we are getting started on tackling chapter 10, circles. The learning objectives for today is to be able to use the formula for area and circumference of a circle, and to be able to explain why it works, and to be able to explain what is a central angle, an arc, and a sector, and find their measures. So why do we care about circles? Well, we live in a very circular world. Where do we see circles in the world? In France, you see this cool maze, which I would love to visit, or you see it in amusement parks, or in architecture. It's very beautiful, so you see it everywhere, like in this circular staircase, or in everyday life in gears and in machinery. So definition of a circle. What is the definition of a circle? Well, you start off with a point P, and then you draw a line segment with a length of 10 centimeters. And then you do the same, going in different directions, and again, and keep doing that 10 centimeters from that point P. If you keep doing that many times, you are going to find a collection of points that make a circle. And that is the definition of a circle. That it is a collection of points that are equal distance, that means same distance from the point P. So you should be taking notes right now. Let's look at some vocabulary. So the point P, the center is, well, I gave you the answer. The point P is called the center of a circle. And we also use the point P, or the letter for the center, to name the circle as well. So in this case, I will name this circle circle P, because that's the letter on the center. The fixed distance from P to the circle. So point P to the circle, this distance, or this distance, or this distance is called the radius. And the line segment through the center point, through this point, but it ends in 2 points on the circle. So it's a straight line that ends in the circle that goes through the center, is called a diameter. Okay, so let's do some example problems. What is the measure of the blue line segment? Okay, if you're given the radius is 4 miles, by definition, we know that the distance from the circle, point on the circle to the center, is always going to be the same. So we know that it's 4 miles. And then what about the red segment? Well, what sort of line is that? That's a diameter. So in diameter is always going to be twice the radius. So it's 8 miles. Okay, so let's look at the parts of a circle. The distance around the circle, that's the red part around the circle, is called what of the circle? Circumference. What about the space that make up the inside of the circle? That's called a area of a circle. Okay? What's a circumference? What's an area in this case? Orange slice. Circumference, we're talking about the outside length. So that's going to be the pill. What's the area? That's the inside part. That's the pulp that we like to eat. What about this example? What's the circumference? What's an area? Well, the circumference is the fencing material around this fence, and the area is how much space you have to enclose your sheep. And here's my sheep. Bah! Let's look at the relationship between circumference and diameter. So write down everything you remember about the formula to calculate the circumference. There's a cool link that I would like to watch, but we don't have time for it. This is a tool that you would have on your resource. Please use that at this point from Google Classroom to explore this. Okay, so if you have a circumference and diameter, the ratio between how long the circumference is to how long the diameter is always going to be pi. And that's a 3.1415926, and this number goes on forever. And it's called irrational number. And it is going to be pi regardless of what size the circle is, whether it's a big circle, small circle, or gigantic circle. The ratio between the circumference and the diameter is always going to be pi. That's the beauty of circle. So starting with that definition, then if you multiply diameter to both sides of the equation, then you can convert the equation to be circumference is equal to pi times diameter. Or if you want it in terms of radius, since we know 2 times radius is same as diameter, we can say that circumference is 2 pi r. Now let's look at the circumference when you are given diameter or given radius. So depending on what information you are given, you would use either of these formulas flexibly, but please don't try to memorize both. Just memorize one, and then you should be able to figure out the other. And that will make more sense than trying to memorize both and get them confused and then getting everything wrong. Let's calculate circumference. To do that, we need to figure out what the radius is, which is we are given, and the radius is 11, then using the formula, your C is 2 times pi times r, which is 11. And so we multiply 11 and 2, so you get 22 pi. We call this answer exact. Why? Because this is really saying 22 times pi, which is an irrational number. It's a number that goes on forever. See, as soon as you use 3.14 or even the calculator value, which is 10 digits, 12 digits long, then even still, it's more approximate because you've cut off some decimal digits. So this is the exact answer. But sometimes I am going to ask you to use 3.14 because that's pretty reasonable, accurate answer that you would get for most problems. Or sometimes I'm going to ask you to use the calculator value. That means just press the button on the calculator and use that value instead of 3.14. Okay, let's try to calculate the diameter given circumference. If you're given circumference to be 20 pi, and we're trying to figure out diameter this time, then we know 20 pi is pi times diameter. So I set those two equations to be equal to each other. And then since I see pi and pi on both sides of the equal sign, I can divide both sides by pi, and you're left with diameter is equal to 20 units. Let's try this problem. Okay, common problem. You have a choice between ordering 2 12-inch medium pizza or one 18-inch large pizza. Which is better? Well, it depends. Do you really just care about the crust, or do you care about how much pizza you're getting? Well, say if you are one of those people who just care about the crust, who loves to eat crust, then which would be a better deal? Let's do the math. And at this point, I would like you to do the math yourself and see if you can come up with a choice. Which do you think is better? I'm going to show you the answers now. Using the formula, C is pi times diameter. So that's going to be pi times 12 pi. And you have two pizzas, so you have 24 pi inches of crust. What about in 18-inch large pizza? You have diameter is 18, so it's going to be 18 pi. Which is bigger, 18 pi or 12 pi? 24 pi. The winner is ordering two 12-inch medium pizza. Yum. Okay, let's try this extension problem. If the unicycle has a radius of 26 inches, how many revolutions does he need to pedal to reach his destination? Okay, so how much would one revolution, what would be the revolution, how far would he go with one revolution? Well, is it an area problem or is it a circumference problem? It's a circumference problem. So one revolution will be 26 times pi. Okay, and how many revolutions does he need to reach his destination? We want to reach 180-mile track across Maine. So 180 times 63,360 inches. That will give you some number. And then you're going to divide that by 26 pi. And that will give you how many revolutions. All right, then what about the next problem? With our calculation, if the unicycle has a radius of 13, instead of 26, 13, so radius has halved. What happened to the diameter then? Diameter has also halved. So does he need to pedal more or does he need to pedal less? Well, he'll have to pedal more. Does he need to pedal by how much? Twice as much? 3 times as much? 4 times as much? How much? The answer will be twice as much. And I will hope you got that too. Okay, let's move on. The relationship between area and radius this time. Write down everything you remember to the formula to calculate the area of a circle. And I hope you all know that area is pi r squared. Okay, but do you understand why it is pi r squared? I would like you to click on this link or YouTube link to watch 2 minutes video on this. We do not have time for this at this time, so I'm going to skip it. But if you're watching this recording, I would like you to watch this YouTube video because that's pretty cool why area is pi r squared. So given any circle with a radius r, its area is pi r squared. So what is the area of this circle? The area radius is 11 inches. So in this case, r is 11, so area is pi 11 squared. 11 squared is 121 times pi, so 121 pi inches squared is the area. So what about in this case, you're given area to be 50 pi. What is the radius? We're trying to find the radius this time, given the area. So area is 50 pi. Using the formula, you set 50 pi to be pi r squared. Divide both sides by pi, and you get 50 is r squared. So you take square root on both sides, and you square root of 50 is same as r, and square root of 50 is same as square root of 25 times square root of 2, so that becomes 5 root 2. So the radius we know to be 5 root 2 units long. Okay, this is the final problem that you are going to try. Okay, this time, what if you care about more pizza? You don't care about the crust, but you really care about how much pizza you're really getting. So in this case, would it be better to order 2 12-inch medium pizza or 1 18-inch large pizza? I want you to try this problem now. The answer will be shown in a minute. Here we go. Okay, so the radius is 6. Remember, when it says 12-inch, we're talking about diameter. So the radius is half of the diameter, so it's going to be 6. So the one pizza area is going to be pi times 6 squared, so 36 pi. And if you have 2 pizzas, that's going to be double that, so that's 72 pi. What about 18-inch large pizza? You have the radius this time is not 18 inches, but half of that, which is 9. So that's going to be pi 9 squared. Pi times 81 is 81 pi. So which is a better deal? 81 pi is bigger, so it will be better for you to order 18-inch large pizza in this case. Okay, that's it for this lesson. And there will be one more video recording that you should be watching.